This is Michelle Sisler, owner of Keys to Imagination, and today I would like to welcome Sally Ritchie. Sally is a private music instructor and expert in creating games to teach music concepts. Today, she is going to share some tips for teaching major, minor, and perfect intervals. She will also show us how to use space place to drill interval qualities with tips for adding ear training, listening, and sight singing.
Thank you, Michelle. I would like to share ways that I take the space place and learning intervals into another whole arena by adding the aural sensations to it. By the time I have instructed the students in interval recognition, then we have taken the space place game to make it more fluent. Is that one line, one space? All right, so you only have 1 second. Are you going to ask one of these? Anybody that has a second, smile so she knows who to ask.
Well, that's just Olivia, do you have a third? Do you have a third? Thank you.
Third at 2 lines or 2
Yes.
spaces? Yeah, and June would love to share with you.
Thank
She
you.
wants to get you off of the sun because you're too hot there.
Burning up.
Burning up is right.
Well, I have
Okay.
1 second. Aubriana, do you have a second?
Oh, she knew right where it was.
I think she has piles.
Ooh, if you have piles, that tells everybody what you have. That's even better than smiling if you have one. We're glad to know that. You need fifths. Do you want to ask or draw? She's got a fifth.
Aubriana, do you have a
That's not a fifth, woman. I think that was a little miscalculation. There you go. So you can put them up there. Good try there.
So close.
I'd like to take it a step farther and add aural aspects to it. And that's very, very easy by using, again, a keyboard. And I use this staff board, this erasable board, and we make a list of intervals and how many half steps are in each one. And again, I go back to the key of C major. If we're doing no sharps, no flats, we're using all white keys. So a second going up from the tonic note in a major scale is a major second. So there are 2 half steps in a major second. A minor second, and I note major with a capital M and minor with a lowercase m. So a minor second is smaller. So that's only 1 half step. A third up from tonic in a major scale is 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. A minor third is 3. And so we keep going, including major, minor, and perfect intervals, and just list how many half steps are in each one. And then I like to take this into the game again. And so when they have to go to a planet that requires an interval, they have to have 2 cards, but now I make 1 additional requirement before they can fly there. They have to tell me the quality of the interval. And so, for instance, I take the Space Place card deck, and this one has a third on it. And so let's say the student has to go to a planet that requires thirds. So they have the 2 intervals, and I will take one of their cards, and I'll say, okay, assume this is the bass clef. Is this a major or a minor third? So we have an A up to a C. So here's A to a C. Well, that one is 1, 2, 3 half steps. So if this were the bass clef, that would be a minor third. And then I'll say, okay, assume it's the treble clef instead. Well, then that changes it. We are adding note names to this. But now we have an F up to an A. So an F to an A, and I have them find it on this keyboard, is 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. So it is a major third. It depends. A third, and I haven't changed where these are. We just changed the clef. So a third can be major or minor. What about if it's the treble staff now? What is this? And so forth. I will have them identify things like that. So even in one turn, they'll get identification of major and minor intervals. And you could do the same thing with any intervals they have. For instance, if they have to have a fourth, if this is bass staff, this is only 6 half steps from F to B. So there is 6 half steps is not a major or a perfect fourth. It's too large, so it'd be augmented. If there were the treble staff, then there would be the right amount of half steps to have a regular perfect fourth. But they have to be able to get to their planets by adding that concept as well. Now I like to take it even farther then and add the ear training. So let's go back to this third. All right, they've got their 2 cards to get there, but now I want them to identify by listening what kind of third is that. And so I will play C to E. Does that sound like a major interval, or does that sound like a minor interval? And we talk about the quality of that interval. And so as we go on, now obviously they're not sharps or flats in this bass place game, but I will change it from sharps or major, minor, whatever suits my needs. So I may play this. And we'll talk about, that sounds kind of sad. So that's a minor third. So by having a combination of using the markers, using the half steps on here, the amount they can count it, it makes it really easy to identify interval quality and so forth. And even when we start out, I might just want them to choose which interval that I play is a third, regardless of major or minor. And when I start that out, I'll make that quite obvious. I may play a third and a seventh. Very seldom does a student mistake that, and then I keep narrowing the range. I also use the space place game for sight singing. If I have a student that I know is in a choir or likes singing, I want them to be able to sing these intervals, not only recognize them. And so I'll give them a movable do. And so, for instance, I may say, la, that's your do, do, re, mi, sing up a third. And then they're not finding it on the keys anymore, but they're finding it in their head. You can use things like, instead of solfege, sometimes I'll say do, a deer, a female deer. Whatever I have to do to get them to hear that. Here comes the bride is a fourth. So all of that can be incorporated into here. I don't do everything in one game, but I'll take the concept that I want and narrow the game down to that concept. They get a little fun along with ear training, so it isn't quite so hard sometimes. They're happier, I'm happy. Another win-win.
Thanks, Sally, for sharing these ideas for helping students identify and drill major, minor, and perfect intervals. And thank you for watching.